In the vast, silent chamber of the Galactic Council, hundreds of alien leaders stared at a single, glowing image. It was a small blue planet, turning slowly in the void. They called it Earth. For centuries, the Council had watched this world, a chaotic cradle of a species known as humanity. They saw them as loud, divided, and violent amongst themselves. Their technology, while growing, was laughably primitive compared to the great empires of the galaxy. To the Council, Earth was just another resource ripe for the taking, another stepping stone in their endless expansion. The time, they agreed, had finally come. A tall, silver-skinned commander stepped into the center of the chamber, his voice echoing with authority. "Send the first contact fleet. Demand their surrender. If they resist, show force." The decision was met with silent nods. It was a familiar script. Humans, like so many before them, would resist out of pride, and then they would break. The alien fleet tore through the fabric of space, arriving at the edge of Earth's solar system without a whisper of warning. Massive ships, bristling with advanced weaponry, moved into a perfect, intimidating formation, their engines burning like a cluster of newborn stars. According to every simulation, every historical precedent, this was the moment Earth should have erupted in chaos. Emergency signals should have flooded the spectrum. Primitive weapons systems should have powered up in a futile gesture of defiance. Desperate, pleading messages should have been broadcast into the darkness. But there was only silence, a deep, unnerving quiet that stretched from Earth to the edge of the system. The alien commanders, veterans of 1,000 conquests, exchanged uneasy glances. This wasn't fear. Fear was loud. Fear screamed and begged and fought wildly. This silence, this was something else. It was cold, calculated. The fleet pushed closer, crossing the orbit of Mars, then the asteroid belt. Still, nothing. Not a single transmission. Not a single sign of panic. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, in a command center hidden from any satellite or spy, human officers stood at their stations. Crystal clear images of the approaching alien ships filled their screens. No one shouted. No one ran. General Marcus Hale watched the silent advance, his face a mask of calm resolve. "They're waiting," an officer observed, her voice low and steady. "Yes," Hale replied, his gaze never leaving the main display. "So are we." There were no grand speeches, no blaring alarms. Orders moved through secure, quantum-entangled lines and soft, controlled tones. Earth did not rush. Earth did not scramble. Earth prepared. As the lead alien ship crossed a predetermined boundary near Earth's orbit, the galaxy's perception of humanity changed forever. New signals, ghost-like and previously undetectable, bloomed on the alien sensors. Unknown ships. They didn't jump into existence with a flash of light or a wave of energy. They simply appeared. Dark, solid shapes, devoid of any ostentatious design, moving with a liquid grace into the blackness of space. Human warships. They weren't particularly large. They didn't look impressive. There were no glowing symbols meant to inspire terror, no jagged edges designed to intimidate. They were simple, clean, and unnervingly quiet. The alien fleet's powerful scanners struggled to get a clear reading, the ship's stealth technology light years beyond anything the Council had ever encountered. "That's impossible," one alien commander stammered. "We surveyed the entire system. There were no construction yards, no shipyards of that scale." Another officer whispered, a dawning horror in his voice. They weren't built in the open. They were hiding. The human ships formed lines perfect, precise, and utterly silent. They sent no warnings. They issued no threats. Their very existence was the only statement necessary. Their movement was a language of pure geometry, a dance of position, timing, and absolute control. The alien fleet, so confident moments before, attempted to establish contact, their protocol demanding it. "This is the Galactic Alliance. Planet Earth, you will surrender all military command," and the message was cut. Not jammed, not destroyed. It was simply ignored. For the first time in millennia, the alien commanders felt a cold knot tighten in their chests. This wasn't just confidence. It was something far more terrifying. The human ships moved, their maneuvers flawlessly coordinated. Not fast, not slow, just exact. They adjusted their angles, their distance, their alignment, as if they had practiced this exact scenario a million times. The alien fleet's response was clumsy, their perfect formation faltering under the sudden, crushing weight of uncertainty. "Power weapons," an alien captain shouted, his voice cracking with a new emotion, dread. Before the command could be fully executed, it was already too late. Across the alien formation, systems began to shut down. There were no explosions, no brilliant flashes of fire, just darkness. Entire sections of a ship would go black. Then the whole vessel would begin to drift, helpless and dead in the water. The humans hadn't attacked the hulls. They hadn't wasted energy on armor. They had struck the command centers, the reactors, the weapons controls, with a surgical precision that was thought to be impossible at this range. The mighty alien fleet froze. Within minutes, a third of their ships were disabled without a single casualty. On Earth, in the command center, General Hale finally spoke, his voice the first to rise above a whisper. "Hold position." An eager young officer looked at him, confused. "Sir, they're exposed. We can neutralize their entire force." Hale shook his head, a slight, almost imperceptible motion. "This is not a battle," he said softly. "This is a message." The human ships ceased their silent assault. They simply waited, their dark forms standing as silent sentinels. Light years away, in the Galactic Council chamber, the serene confidence had shattered into outright panic. Live feeds from the first contact fleet showed the horrifying truth. Leaders who had ruled star systems for ages leaned forward, their multifaceted eyes wide, watching their invincible ships go dark one by one. "They are disabling us," one council member said in disbelief. Another, his voice trembling, whispered, "They could destroy us at will, but they are choosing not to." Silence once again filled the chamber. But this was not the silence of arrogant deliberation. This was the silence of pure, undiluted fear. Back in orbit around Earth, the alien flagship, its system still miraculously online, sent another signal. The voice that spoke was stripped of all its former arrogance. "Earth, explain your actions." Minutes passed, an eternity of tension. Then, finally, a human signal opened a channel. The voice that spoke was calm, clear, and carried an ancient weight. It was short, simple, and it would echo through the galaxy for generations to come. "We see you." That was all. The signal ended. The alien commander stared at the blank screen. 2 words. No demands, no anger, no declarations of war, just awareness. The terrible understanding hit them like a physical blow. Humans were not afraid. They weren't confused. From the very beginning, they had been in control. In his command center, General Hale turned away from the main screen. "Record everything," he said quietly to his staff. "Send it on a continuous, open loop. The galaxy is watching now." Outside, in the cold vacuum of space, Earth's silent guardians remained in place, a stark line drawn between their home and a suddenly very nervous universe. The alien fleet did not move. For the first time in galactic history, a first contact mission had failed without a single major battle. And across the stars, a new and chilling truth began to spread. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not primitive. Humanity had simply been waiting. The Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy, their voices echoing through the grand chamber. Every species, from the crystalline Cathar to the insectoid Vreen, had seen the feeds from the first contact fleet. They had watched in stunned silence as the humans, a species they'd dismissed as primitive, confronted their massive war machines. The human ships were small, almost delicate compared to the galactic behemoths, yet they moved with an unnerving grace, without firing a single cataclysmic shot, without a single boast or threat. They had systematically disabled the alien warships, leaving them drifting helplessly in Earth's orbit. The humans didn't shout. They didn't threaten. They just acted perfectly. For the first time in millennia, the Council began to study a new species with genuine urgency. They scoured ancient archives, unearthing records stolen from Earth long ago. They read accounts of humanity's brutal history, endless wars, devastating plagues, and constant struggles against their own planet. It was a history of pain and loss, a chronicle of a species perpetually on the brink of self-annihilation. Yet, against all odds, they had survived. More than that, they had adapted, learned, and grown stronger with every single defeat. "Primitive," an elder council member muttered, his voice trembling slightly. "Dangerously primitive." But another, wiser voice corrected him. "No, they are not primitive. They are something else entirely." Out in the cold silence of space, the human warships waited. Their engines hummed a low, steady rhythm, almost like the soft breathing of a sleeping giant. On board each vessel, every soldier, pilot, and officer executed their duties with flawless precision. There was no chaos, no panic, no wasted motion. Only absolute, chilling control. Deep within Earth's most secure command center, General Marcus Hale moved silently between glowing tactical displays. The screens showed the enemy fleet, neutralized and powerless. But there was no celebration in his eyes, no hint of triumph. An officer, her voice barely a whisper, asked, "General, do you think they understand what's happening?" Hale shook his head slowly. No, most of them never will. But we don't need them to understand. We only need them to learn. Humanity had a peculiar approach to warfare, one forged in the crucible of a violent past. They trained for years, decades even, mastering the art of patience. They studied their enemies, the terrain, their own technology, and most importantly, their own weaknesses. Every soldier knew their role intimately. Every commander had contingencies for their contingencies. The galaxy, accustomed to shock and awe, saw none of this intricate preparation. They only saw a quiet, unblinking force, waiting patiently in the dark. On the bridge of the alien flagship, tension was a physical presence. Commander Vaylor, his silver-plated skin reflecting the flickering emergency lights, paced restlessly. The human response defied every military doctrine he had ever studied. They are precise, he whispered, the words catching in his throat. Every maneuver calculated, every shot exact. A junior officer, his mandibles quivering with anxiety, approached. Commander, they are not pressing the attack. Are they afraid? Vaylor let out a bitter, humorless laugh. Fear is loud. Fear is chaotic. This silence is far worse. They are not afraid. They are waiting. The young officer looked confused. Waiting for what? Vaylor's eyes narrowed into slits. For us to make another mistake. Humanity had weathered catastrophes that had wiped entire civilizations from the galactic map. World wars that scarred their planet. Plagues that decimated their population. Natural disasters that reshaped continents, even near-extinction events from their own rogue AIs. Yet, they remained. Alien intelligence reports, now being frantically re-evaluated, painted an extraordinary picture. Humans weren't just surviving, they were constantly, relentlessly improving. Their weapons, ships, and tactics were in a state of perpetual evolution. While their armies were small by galactic standards, each unit was trained to a level of elite proficiency that most alien soldiers could never dream of. Every human pilot could navigate an asteroid field at full burn and still land a perfect shot. Every ground soldier could traverse the most hostile environments and emerge victorious. Whispers began to spread through Vaylor's crew, legends of human resilience, stories that now seemed terrifyingly real. How could one species endure so much and not break? How could they face a superior force with such unnerving calm? The Council began to grasp a terrifying truth. Humans didn't fight for glory, or resources, or conquest. They fought for something far more fundamental. They fought for survival, for each other, for their home. Back on Earth, the silent watch continued. Not a single human soldier showed any sign of fear. There was no arrogance, no boasting, just a quiet, focused readiness. Pilots ran pre-flight checks for the 10th time. Engineers monitored energy grids with unwavering attention. Ground troops practiced drills in hushed efficiency. Everything was precise, everything was controlled. Even the general's orders were delivered in a soft, steady voice. Every move counts, he reminded his command staff. One mistake could cost millions of lives. But if we stay calm, if we follow our training, they will see that humanity cannot be broken. The aliens, watching from their crippled ships, began to understand. These humans weren't fighting a war of weapons. They were fighting a war of minds, a war of strategy, patience, and adaptability. Every single human, from the lowest-ranking recruit to the highest commander, was a perfectly calibrated component in a grand, intricate machine designed for one purpose: to survive. To test this theory, one of the smaller alien ships, a scout vessel, fired a single, defiant shot toward the human line. Just one. The humans didn't flinch. They didn't panic or return overwhelming fire. Instead, a single human ship darted forward. Within moments, the scout vessel was disabled. There was no explosion, no fire, no debris. Its engines just stopped. A human weapon had targeted a single, critical control panel with surgical accuracy and simply shut it down. From the alien perspective, it was magic. It was impossible. They are gods of war, muttered a scientist on another alien vessel, his voice filled with awe and terror. Commander Vaylor's face went pale. He finally understood. This wasn't brute force. This was a level of precision, discipline, and control that surpassed any known civilization. The humans had weaponized their own survival instinct. They had turned every historical weakness into an unimaginable strength. In the council chambers, simmering fear erupted into full-blown panic. The humans are not weak, one leader declared, his voice sharp with dread. They are an unpredictable force we cannot comprehend. Another whispered, they may not even need to fight us. The mere knowledge of their existence will forever change the balance of power in the galaxy. The silence that the humans maintained in orbit wasn't a void. It was a statement. Every measured pause, every controlled movement, conveyed a single, undeniable message. We are ready. We will not falter, and you cannot break us. General Hale took one last look at the drifting alien ships before turning away from the main view screen. History will remember this day, he said, his voice quiet but firm. Not because we defeated an enemy, but because we showed the galaxy who we are. Across the fleet, human soldiers returned to their posts. There were no celebrations, no triumphant cheers. There was only readiness, because humanity had learned, through fire and blood, a simple, profound truth. True strength wasn't found in destruction, or fear, or overwhelming force. True strength was found in control, in discipline, and in the unbreakable will to survive always, no matter the odds. And somewhere, in the far-flung corners of the galaxy, alien commanders and council members would whisper the same words over and over, like a prayer of warning. We misjudged them. We always misjudge them. The silence of space had lasted for hours. The alien commanders were restless. Their fleet, once proud and confident, now floated like scattered toys. Every single ship that had dared to test Earth's defenses had been disabled with surgical precision, not destroyed. Disabled humans, it seemed, did not kill without reason. They sent their messages through action, not words. But now, a terrifying question lingered in the cold vacuum. What would happen if the humans decided to fight back for real? Deep inside Earth's command center, General Marcus Hale studied the alien formation on his holographic screens. His voice was calm, but firm. They're testing us again, he said. A small attack will come. Prepare. No surprises. Around him, engineers and pilots nodded. Every move had already been planned. Every ship had its role. Every soldier knew the steps by heart. They'll learn quickly that we do not fight to destroy without reason. Hale continued. We fight to protect our home. On the alien command bridge, Commander Vaylor's fleet braced for the unknown. They had underestimated the humans once. They vowed not to make that mistake again. Or so they thought. A small squadron of alien fighters broke formation and sped toward Earth. They carried enough firepower to annihilate an entire city. The human response was immediate, but it was different than anything the aliens expected. Human ships launched quietly, moving like shadows in the dark. Pilots coordinated with invisible signals, never speaking a single word aloud. Missiles were not fired in panic. Lasers were not scattered wildly. Every single attack, every defensive maneuver, was precise. The alien squadron fired 1, 2, 3 volleys. Each one seemed to hit its target, but the human shields absorbed the energy perfectly, leaving their ships completely untouched. And then, it happened. The human counterattack began. It was almost artistic. A single human destroyer moved through the alien squadron with a calm, almost poetic grace. Missiles struck enemy engine cores with pinpoint accuracy. Other ships disabled weapon systems without destroying them. Every human vessel moved in perfect harmony, like a single, living organism. The alien pilots panicked. They tried to communicate. They tried to regroup. It was useless. The humans were everywhere, yet nowhere at the same time. Impossible, shouted an alien commander from his flagship. They move like one mind. Another muttered in disbelief. Humans coordinated, faster than thought. The aliens began to retreat, but the humans only allowed a partial escape. They disabled a few more ships, leaving some pilots alive, some vessels drifting helplessly in space. In this entire engagement, not a single human life was lost, not one. Back on Earth, General Hale watched the live feed in silence. His officers waited for him to speak. Send a message, he finally said. The communication officer hesitated. Sir, they have already seen our strength. What more do we need to say? A slight smile touched Hale's lips. We say what they need to hear. The message was short, clear, human. We defend our home. We do not seek your fear, but we will accept it. It was simple, almost polite. Yet, across the galaxy, the message landed with the weight of a dying star. The alien commanders froze. They replayed the words again and again. Some were angry, some were confused, but many were afraid. They don't threaten, whispered one council member. They don't make demands. And yet, I feel like we are in their debt. Another said, this is war, but it is not war. It is something else entirely. And indeed, it was. Humanity did not fight for glory. They did not fight for conquest. They fought for survival, for each other, and for their home. Every shot fired, every maneuver executed, every word spoken reflected that simple truth. In orbit above Earth, the human ships returned to their formations. There were no cheers, no victory dances, only a calm, Quiet readiness, only order, only preparation for whatever came next. On the alien side, scattered reports came flooding in. Fleets were damaged, systems disabled. Pilots were terrified. The first contact mission had failed completely, and yet, not a single human ship had been destroyed. Commander Vaylor's mind raced. He finally understood the fear he couldn't name before. Humanity's strength did not lie in their weapons alone. It was in their discipline, their unity, their will, and above all, in their absolute refusal to surrender to fear. The Galactic Council convened an urgent session. How do we respond? One leader asked desperately. We cannot fight them. We cannot ignore them. Another added, they are unpredictable. We have never faced a species like this, never. A third whispered, as if afraid the humans themselves might hear. They fight not for conquest, but for each other. That is unnatural. Finally, Commander Vaylor's voice came across the chamber feed, calm but firm. The humans have sent their message. They fight with honor, not for an empire. They will defend their home, but they will not destroy without reason. We must reconsider everything. Back on Earth, General Hale walked among his officers. No one speaks of fear, he said softly. We showed them who we are today, not because we wanted war but because we could not let them think otherwise. Strength is not in destruction. Strength is in restraint, in control, and in protecting what matters most. The officers nodded silently. They understood. Humans had fought without arrogance. They had sent a message without threats, and the galaxy had listened. Somewhere in deep space, alien pilots began to whisper a warning that would spread from system to system. The humans are not like us. Do not underestimate them. Do not provoke them. They are something new. And in that moment, humanity's reputation began to grow, not from terror, not from conquest, but from a simple, undeniable truth. They would fight for their home, and nothing could stop them. News of the first battle spread faster than any hyperwave signal. Across countless star systems, alien empires watched the recorded feeds. Their leaders gathered in hushed councils. The blue planet, Earth, had done something no one, not even the most seasoned strategists, had ever predicted. A small, almost insignificant fleet of human ships had faced the elite war machines of the Galactic Alliance, and instead of a desperate, futile last stand, they had disabled the entire armada without destroying a single ship. Then, humanity sent its message. It wasn't a threat, not a boast, not a plea for mercy. It was short, calm, and clear. We defend our home. We do not seek your fear, but we will accept it. The words were simple, yet their effect was devastating. In the Imperial Senate of the Drake Collective, 1,000 alien voices erupted in chaos. They are only a single world, one counselor shouted, his voice echoing in the Grand Chamber. They cannot threaten us. They already have, another replied sharply, silencing the room. They fought without fear. They destroyed nothing, yet crippled our finest fleet. They have shown the galaxy that we are no longer in absolute control. But they are humans, another cried out in disbelief. Small, weak, notoriously divided. We can crush them if we unite our forces. An elder, who had seen a dozen empires rise and fall, whispered, can we? Did you see how they fight? Did you see the precision? The absolute control? They are not like us. They are not like anyone we have ever faced before. Across the Perseus Arm, the news traveled through less official channels. In dimly lit cantinas and the bustling bridges of smuggling vessels, traders, mercenaries, and outlaws watched the feeds. They whispered in a mixture of fear and awe. Some saw an opportunity, plotting to offer their services to the humans for a share of the profit. Others felt the chill, fearing the day these disciplined humans might decide to expand beyond their single star. But one thing was certain. For the first time in galactic history, everyone was talking about Earth. Back on that blue planet, there were no celebrations, no parades, no victory speeches. Every human, from the highest-ranking general to the civilian on the street, knew what this victory meant. They had the galaxy's attention, and attention, they knew, could be a very dangerous thing. Some empires would see them as a threat to be eliminated before they grew stronger. Others would see them as a pawn, trying to manipulate or intimidate them into an alliance. General Marcus Hale stood before his top officers in the main command center, the star charts of the local cluster glowing around them. We've sent a message, he said, his voice quiet but firm. Now, the galaxy will send its reply. Some will be cautious, some will be aggressive, but we cannot respond with fear. We will remain ready, calm, and united. In the silent vacuum of orbit, human ships ran endless simulations. They practiced defense, offense, and deep space reconnaissance. Every pilot, every engineer, Every soldier was acutely aware that the eyes of 1,000 worlds were on them. While other species debated, argued, and postured, Earth remained silent in its diplomacy, but incredibly active in its preparation. The humans understood a fundamental truth that many in the galaxy, with all their power and history, would never grasp. True power comes not from spreading fear, but from readiness and control. Meanwhile, alien spies across the galaxy filed perplexing reports. Empires that had previously dismissed Earth as a primitive backwater began to divert fleets for cautious observation. Some even sent quiet diplomatic overtures, suggesting alliances or trade agreements. But the humans did not respond. They weren't seeking power or influence beyond their world. They were simply making it unequivocally clear Earth would defend itself, and nothing else mattered. The alien commanders were unnerved by the silence. "They do not speak," said Valor, a high-ranking officer of the Alliance fleet. "They do not negotiate. They only prepare." "Yes, sir," a junior officer replied, his gaze fixed on a tactical display. "And yet, every move they make, every silent patrol, shows strength. It shows confidence, discipline. They are beyond what our intelligence predicted." In the lawless Orion expanse, warlords who had defied empires for centuries whispered of this new power. "They will never submit," one said, his scarred face illuminated by a flickering holoscreen. "They do not fear death, destruction, or the combined might of the galaxy itself. They will fight, and they will survive." Another replied, his voice filled with a strange reverence. "They fight for something no empire can destroy. Their home, each other. That is why they cannot be defeated." These words spread through star systems like wildfire. Humanity's reputation began to grow, a complex mix of fear and respect. Soon, governments across the galaxy came to understand the same truth. Earth was no ordinary planet, and humans were no ordinary species. Back on Earth, General Hale reviewed the incoming intelligence reports from every corner of the known galaxy. "They are watching, sir," a communications officer stated. "Some are cautious, some are plotting, and others are afraid." Hale nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. "Let them watch, let them fear, but we do not move because of them. We move because we must protect our home." In every training room, on every ship, at every orbital station, humans prepared in quiet determination. They trained harder, studied new strategies, and refined every tactic until it was second nature. Their strength was growing, and they knew, with absolute certainty, that the galaxy would soon test it again. In the far-off Zorith cluster, a council of ancient beings debated humanity's future. "We should strike now, before they grow stronger and challenge the established order," one voice demanded with urgency. "They are not our enemies, yet," another replied, its tone measured and wise. "But they are not like anything we have faced. Observe them carefully, learn from them, and yes, fear them." And so, the galaxy hesitated. Some species pushed for diplomacy, eager to understand these newcomers. Some plotted war, convinced that humanity was a threat that needed to be extinguished. But all were watching, all were waiting. Humanity had not sought this attention. They didn't crave fear or respect, but through calm action, unwavering discipline, and unbreakable unity, they had earned both. And the galaxy was beginning to understand Earth would never fall. In a quiet corridor of the command center, General Hale walked alone. He paused at a large viewport, looking up at the endless sea of stars that now watched his world. "Let them watch," he whispered to the silence. "Let them see. The galaxy will understand, in time, that humans are not weak, that we fight not for power, but for each other. And that is our greatest strength." Somewhere in the vast darkness of deep space, alien fleets regrouped. Reports flowed into every capital, every warship, and every council chamber, all carrying the same stark message. Earth does not fight like the others. Earth does not fear. Earth is different. The message was clear. The humans had proven that size, numbers, and technology alone did not define power. Discipline, unity, courage, and the unbreakable will to protect one's home, these were the components of a strength no empire could ignore. And the galaxy, at last, had taken notice. The galaxy had been watching, and now it would see the full power of humanity. The larger alien fleet approached Earth's solar system with a mix of arrogance and fear. These were ships from multiple empires, each armed to the teeth, each confident they could crush a so-called primitive world. They expected the humans to panic. They expected chaos. They expected a quick surrender. They were profoundly wrong. On Earth, General Marcus Hale stood in the command center, his eyes scanning countless holographic screens displaying the incoming threat. He did not smile. He did not shout. He did not show a single trace of panic. "Prepare the fleet," he said, his voice calm and steady. "This is what we have trained for. Every system online, every pilot at their post, every soldier ready." The human fleet did not move with rage. It did not roar with blind aggression. It moved with the chilling precision of a surgeon's scalpel. Ships glided into formation like shadows, invisible to enemy sensors, until they were already in position. On the ground, soldiers checked their weapons and shields, their movements economical and practiced. They knew the first strike could come anywhere, at any moment. Engineers ran final calculations, but even the newest recruit on the line felt the ingrained discipline of centuries of training. This was not a reaction, it was a response. The alien fleets entered Earth's orbital space and, with predictable arrogance, fired the first volleys. Massive energy blasts, bright enough to create new constellations, lit up the void. The humans responded, but not with a counter barrage of fire. First came precision strikes. Tiny missiles and focused energy beams, launched from human ships, disabled alien engines, weapons arrays, and navigation systems, without destroying the vessels themselves. Entire squadrons of powerful alien warships were rendered helpless, drifting like broken toys in the vastness of space. Then, the human fighters swept in, moving faster than the enemy sensors could track. The pilots moved with perfect, almost psychic coordination, weaving through explosions, dodging debris, and hitting exact weak points on the disabled ships. Not a single human ship was lost, not one. On the ground, Earth's soldiers saw alien dropships descending through the atmosphere. They did not panic. Every squad moved in perfect formation, cutting off landing zones, disabling enemy vehicles, and protecting civilian evacuation routes. It was almost beautiful, a terrifying ballet of tactical brilliance. A single squad of human soldiers held off an entire platoon of heavily armed alien warriors. Using their intimate knowledge of the terrain, impeccable timing, and sheer ingenuity, traps were set and sprung without a moment's hesitation. Every move, every step, was calculated, efficient, and lethal. The aliens began to realize something terrifying. The humans fought as a single, cohesive organism. Each individual seemed to instinctively enhance the others, creating a force far greater than the sum of its parts. There were no shouted orders, no confused calms chattered, just a silent, unified purpose. In space, the alien flagship, a vessel of monstrous size and power, fired everything it had at the human fleet. Giant beams of energy tore through the void. On its bridge, alien commanders shouted. Officers panicked. Lesser ships in their fleet exploded from friendly fire or collisions in the chaos. But the humans were always one step ahead. Small, nimble vessels moved through the mayhem like ghosts. They disabled the flagship's primary weapons, expertly guided disabled alien ships away from human targets, and protected each other without a single command being shouted aloud. From a distance, it looked as though the humans were untouchable, as if they were everywhere at once. General Hale watched the holographic displays quietly. "Protect the civilians," he said to his officers, his voice low but firm. "And let them see. Let them see what it means to fight for your home." The humans did not seek revenge. They did not celebrate destruction. They fought to end the threat, not to dominate. Their movements, their attacks, their coordination, everything was a lesson in restraint, strategy, and focused power. The alien commanders, however, were learning a hard and bitter truth. On the bridge of a struggling cruiser, one officer gasped as their fleet fell into complete disarray. How are they so precise, so unified?" A senior tactical advisor, Vaylor, watched the battle unfold, his expression a mask of dawning horror. "They fight not just with weapons," he said quietly, almost afraid to voice the thought. "They fight with their minds, their hearts, their unity. They protect each other, and that is why they cannot be defeated." Another officer, staring at a screen showing a human pilot sacrificing their ship's shield power to save a comrade, whispered, "They fight for something we cannot understand, not power, not conquest, but for each other." Vaylor nodded slowly, a deep dread settling in his core. "And that makes them unstoppable." The battle raged for hours. The massive alien fleets, a coalition of the galaxy's mightiest empires, approached from all directions. They brought reinforcements, larger ships, and ever more deadly weapons. But the humans responded every time with that same unnerving, calm precision. They did not panic. They did not falter. Every alien attack was countered with discipline, ingenuity, and unity. Ground forces coordinated seamlessly with orbital fleets. Pilots and space-guided soldiers on the ground through dangerous zones, painting targets from above. Engineers, protected by the flawless formations, performed daring repairs on ships mid-battle. Even civilians assisted without chaos, guided by clear instructions and a deep-seated civic discipline, managing supply lines and medical aid with astonishing efficiency. By the time the aliens realized the battle was already over. It hadn't been won in a single glorious explosion, but in 1,000 small, perfect victories. The alien fleets retreated in a shattered, humiliated rout. Countless ships were lost or disabled. Their systems were in shambles. Their pilots were shaken to their core. Yet, back in Earth's orbit, a staggering fact became clear. Not a single human ship had been destroyed. Not a single civilian had been lost due to poor planning or tactical failure. Humanity had proven something no one in the galaxy had expected. Their strength was not in firepower alone, but in their coordination, their courage, and their collective will to survive. In the aftermath, the humans did not celebrate. There were no victory parades, no triumphant speeches. On Earth, people returned to their routines. Engineers began repairing the ships quietly and methodically. Pilots were already running simulations, analyzing data, and preparing for the next engagement. Soldiers returned to their training regimens. It was not a celebration. It was simply a return to the constant state of readiness. General Hale stood on the command bridge, watching the distant stars. He spoke softly to his officers, his words meant for them, but echoing the truth for the ages. They will remember today. The galaxy will remember, not because we destroyed them but because we did not fall. Strength is not found in creating fear or in conquest. True strength is in control, unity, and the will to survive. And we will never stop protecting our home. Somewhere far away, on the retreating flagships of a dozen humbled empires, alien commanders whispered warnings that would spread like wildfire across the galactic networks. The message was always the same. The humans are not like the rest. They fight for each other, not for power. They are disciplined. They are united. They are unstoppable. And in that moment, the galaxy began to understand a terrifying new truth. Earth was not just another planet. Humanity was not just another species. They were a force unlike anything anyone had ever faced before. The first wave of the great conflict had ended, but the legend of humanity's strength, their courage, their precision, and their unbreakable unity was only just beginning. For the first time in galactic history, there was silence, a collective pause, a held breath across countless worlds. The news, the whispers, the stark reality of what had transpired near a small, blue planet called Earth, traveled faster than any signal, carried on a current of shock and awe. Fleets that had once viewed Earth as a primitive, easy target were now in full retreat, pulling back to the safety of their home systems, shaken and utterly confused. Back on Earth, there were no celebrations, no victory parades, no boastful proclamations. Humanity's defenders did not issue threats or ultimatums. They simply watched, they trained, and they waited. They had just demonstrated their strength. Now, it was time for the galaxy to learn who they truly were. Aboard the flagship Resolute, General Marcus Hale stood on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the distant, glittering stars. Reports streamed in from every corner of their orbital defense grid. The data was clean, precise, alien fleets neutralized, their weapons systems disabled, but their crews alive, civilian zones untouched, planetary infrastructure intact. Every single outcome matched their projections. Humanity had not sought conquest. They had not acted out of revenge. They had fought for one thing, and one thing only: protection. Sir, an officer's voice cut through the quiet hum of the bridge. The Galactic Council is on the line. They're requesting communication. They want to negotiate. Hale gave a slow, deliberate nod. Patch them through, and send our prepared message. Make it clear and simple. No threats, no arrogance. Just the truth. In the center of the bridge, a holographic projection shimmered into existence. The faces of the Galactic Councilors appeared, their expressions a mixture of tension and disbelief. They had expected a species drunk on newfound power, or perhaps one begging for mercy after a costly battle. They had not anticipated this. Composure, discipline, absolute authority. General Hale's voice echoed through the transmission, calm and steady. We do not seek to conquer. We do not seek to destroy. We protect our home. Those who come in peace and respect our world will find a friend in humanity. Those who threaten it will meet our full and undivided strength. The counselors froze. This wasn't a challenge, not in the way they understood it. It was a statement of irrefutable fact. Earth was not negotiating from a position of weakness, nor were they boasting from a position of arrogance. They were simply declaring their existence, and their unbreakable will to defend it, across the galaxy. Alien leaders erupted into fierce debate. Do we launch a counterattack now? One fleet commander demanded, his voice trembling with a rage that barely concealed his fear. We've lost entire armadas. Our most advanced ships are adrift and powerless. And yet, they didn't destroy us. They let us live. Another, an elder strategist, replied with a heavy tone. They fight for something we cannot conquer. Their strength isn't just in their weapons or their numbers. It is in their unity, their discipline, their courage. They protect one another with a ferocity we cannot comprehend. We cannot break them without risking the annihilation of our own species. For the very first time, the great powers of the galaxy feared not just humanity's technology, but its spirit. Back on Earth, a quiet vigilance settled over the planet. Civilians resumed their daily lives, their confidence secured by the silent sentinels orbiting above. In shipyards, engineers worked tirelessly, repairing and upgrading the fleet. In simulators, pilots ran new, more complex scenarios, pushing themselves to the very edge of their limits. Every man, woman, and child understood the new reality. Earth had not just defended itself, it had earned its place among the stars. General Hale gathered his command staff. His voice was low, but it carried the weight of history. We have shown the galaxy who we are, not through terror, not through brute force, but through resolve, unity, and courage. Never forget this. True strength is not measured by the fear you can inspire, but by the protection you provide and the values you uphold. Humanity has survived every trial thrown its way. The galaxy is about to learn that we cannot, and will not, be broken. As if hearing his words, alien fleets began to withdraw from Earth's solar system. Some retreated to their territories to regroup and lick their wounds. Others, stunned into a new kind of understanding, simply went home. The story of humanity's precise, disciplined, and unshakable defense spread like a wildfire across the starlands. A species once dismissed as insignificant had announced itself on the galactic stage, and everyone was listening. Of course, some leaders began plotting retaliation, but many more began to reconsider their alliances, their treaties, their entire understanding of power. They all had to confront one unshakable truth. Earth was a force that could no longer be ignored. In a distant star system, a council of a wise and ancient species transmitted a stark warning to all their fleets and allies. The humans are not like any species we have ever encountered. They do not fight for power or for conquest. They fight for each other. Approach them with respect, or you will face a total and catastrophic loss. When united, humanity is unstoppable. Those words resonated across thousands of star systems. The perception of humanity shifted. They were no longer seen as the inhabitants of a small, isolated world, but as a civilization destined to shape the future of the galaxy. On Earth, life settled into a new rhythm. Soldiers trained, pilots flew, engineers built. But everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the cosmic darkness. The galaxy had seen them. The galaxy had learned their name. General Hale stood on the bridge, gazing at the star-dusted canvas one last time. His voice was a soft whisper, filled with a quiet pride. Today, the galaxy has learned a vital lesson. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not beg. Humanity survives, protects, and unites. That is our strength. That is our legacy. And the galaxy will remember it forever. He turned to his officers, his expression firm. Prepare for what comes next. Our actions will bring others. Some will be curious, some will be aggressive. We will be ready for them all. But today, we changed the galaxy. In the vast emptiness of space, the reports continued to filter back to alien capitals. Across countless empires, the same phrase was repeated over and over. The humans are not like the rest. Do not underestimate them. Do not provoke them. They are disciplined. They are united. And they are utterly fearless. They will die for each other. And that is why they can never be defeated. And so it was. The rise of humanity was not chronicled in the annals of conquest or fear. It was a story of courage, of discipline, and of the unwavering will to protect their home and their people. The legend of the first contact, the silent rival, and the quiet, terrible demonstration of strength was born. Across the stars, civilizations began to speak of Earth with a newfound awe and respect. Some feared them, some envied them, but all of them knew one single, undeniable truth. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from the far reaches of space and the human imagination. We'll see you in the next one.